Welcome to Guelph Fight Wrestling. Today we're going to be diving into Double or Nothing. So if you want to hear our jibber jabber on that and watch out for highlights like this, stay tuned. So we're going to be going obviously from the main event backwards to the front of the card, which I don't think we were going to talk about anyway. But we're starting off with Hangman Adam Page versus Will Ospreay, who's going to be going to All In Texas. Well, we found out that was going to be Hangman. Now, this match I felt like was kind of laid out a little bit more like a New Japan match. The methodical, layout of it with different styles, kind of sequenced out into different blocks of the match and things like that to kind of progress to certain areas to have those high moments and things like that. But we kind of went from fast and athletic, fast sequences and things. We had some heavy moves, some big moments like that. We had some good striking and ground-based stuff, and some heavy clubbing clotheslines from Hangman, and sharp kicks from Ospreay. So it was all kind of patterned out, going from moment to moment, and within the whole match there. And some really big moments from Will Ospreay, like he had the shooting star press where Hangman was hung over the ropes, and that nasty Styles Clash on the outside.
Yeah, Hangman had some cool moments where, he has fallaway slam into everything, the turnbuckles, the barricades, just chucking it everywhere. And that's funny, he's trying to do the best moonsault ever, ends up doing the worst moonsault ever.
I was like, oops. He's like, oh, I can't do this, never mind.
I'm just gonna climb up, I think it was a nasty Styles Clash. Where his forehead, smashed into the floor. I like the cowboy moment where they have a standoff. He's like,
the Mexican standoff.
Yeah, he's like, you're gonna go there, we're gonna go there, we're gonna go, and then but the Hangman got the clothesline off and got this buckshot, but then that wasn't quite the finish.
Yeah, it was it didn't look like Ospreay even got his elbow up. He's like, well, I'm just gonna tank this. Oops, this is a bad idea. But yeah, overall it was a really intense match. I felt like there was a lot of passion, back and forth and intensity from both guys. So you could really feel that was really palpable throughout the match, and both. Pulling off, I thought, some of their nemesis' moves.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know if Christopher Daniels is really Hangman's nemesis. He did kill him. But, him doing the Angel's Wings, like you said, the worst moonsault ever. And Will Ospreay doing the V-trigger and trying to go for the one-winged angel as well. So doing Kenny's moves. So there was a lot of differentiating stuff that they were trying to pull off for this match to really make it exciting. Especially since it's a longer match, you're trying to add little new details and elements.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting because he has so much passion and hate for Swerve. For him to pull off the JML driver.
Oh yeah, that one too.
It's just it was whoa, jeez, what's going on?
Yeah, next we got the Don Callis family versus the Paragon, which is obviously Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Kyle O'Reilly versus Kyle Fletcher, Konosuke Takeshita, and Josh Alexander. This was a pretty interesting match. Not too bad, but we were kind of hesitant because we know Adam Cole doesn't do too much stuff for the most. But O'Reilly and Strong can bring in. Obviously, Takeshita, Alexander, and Kyle Fletcher usually really deliver quite well throughout their matches as well.
Yeah, Cole got killed, he just kept taking suplexes to the back of his head.
Oh, yeah?
He kept landing on the back of the head, whoa, we're joking. See, I got concussed again.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down. I was like, oh, Fletcher was handing out concussions to everybody. He's nailing everybody with concussion-esque blows.
And Strong has some cool backbreakers. He's doing backbreakers on the barricades. I don't need my knee, I just do the barricade.
Yeah, Josh Alexander, I think it was, right? He got kind of broken on the barricade. And Don Callis had some, I felt he had some funny interference. Kind of like that one time, he's like, what's going on over here? I need to kick this guy.
And then it's funny, Kyle Fletcher was getting choked out.
Oh, yeah.
And then you see Takeshita is slowly coming in. It's doing a strut or something. Sticking his tie and before he breaks it up. It's What's going on, man? I'm getting choked up. You're taking your sweet ass time.
It's kind of like Jeff Hardy that one time. Taking a sweet ass time. There's some really good fast sequences between both teams. Especially, I think it was definitely Kyle O'Reilly. I think it was Kyle Fletcher. They were going really back and forth really nicely. A very fluid match cohesive between all the guys, which was pretty good because I don't know how much experience they have against one another.
Yeah.
You know, so overall, like a really solid match. Unfortunately, the Don Callis family lost. They've been losing a lot lately, even though they got all this great talent there. Next, we're going on to Anarchy in the Arena. This was a really big one because there were 6 members from each side going toe-to-toe. So you had a lot of cameras, a lot of moments to be captured on there. And everyone kind of pretty much did have their moment. I think, well, maybe not Wheeler Yuta. I don't know if he really had his moment, except people like swearing at him. But this was like plenty of like wild, fun, blood and chaos. It kind of started right from the beginning with the way the entrances were. You kind of had like Kenny Omega America, or Captain America with like all his red, white, and blue and the shield, and Swerve came out as like the Predator. You thought he was Wolverine. and then you had the Young Bucks coming out, the Founding Fathers. I don't know how the hell they wrestled and all that stuff. That would have been pretty difficult, pretty hard to maneuver in. They did. I was like, holy crap, that would have been pretty tough. I think that kind of like applied to because Swerve stomped him with all the, was it Matt or no, was it Nick? Well, either way, with his new shoes with the thumbnails or the thumbtacks on the back. So I was like, well, it makes sense why they were like, well, I'm going to wear this and this will help you do that move without like killing my shoulders and stabbing me a million times. So there was a lot of big moments between everybody. Swerve had several moments. He got his tongue stapled, prove how, pissed the wrestling community off, being like, this is how sadistic I am. Some of the humorous moments, I guess, were like Kenny just grabs the mic and he's like, demanding some like really badass music because they had like the pop song, and then he's like, this doesn't work, and Swerve was all confused. So they ended up playing Bodies, which was Tony Khan's idea, and then that started going on. So that was like some of the humorous moments there, as well as when the music stopped, it was because Swerve took a big swing into the speaker. So we have a mix of like a whole bunch of different kind of moments.
Yeah, there's a lot of high action. I think right after that, Hobbs comes in and chucks Claudio into like some cabinets. He goes flying, and then Nick Jackson comes flying over the top. It's just like hell on earth kind of thing.
Yeah, and right before that. It was right before. Was it right before? Well, either way, Hobbs took a swanton from Nick Jackson through the table way up on the stage.
Bung his head up.
So, and then you're like, well, Hobbs got up. He kind of got up kind of quick.
He knows all that table shot, man.
Yeah, he got up kind of quick after that. He's just like, well, he took a whole bunch of stuff that he didn't sell in the chair shots. He just kept taking chair shots from everybody. Shibata had a bit of a moment where he didn't know what to do with Wheeler Yuta inside the garbage. He's like, what do I do with this guy? So instead he just like barbed wire kicks him with his Shibata punch. So that was his big moment, I guess, sort of.
There's a cool slingshot moment where like Kenny was just like hanging on the ropes, and it goes flying and it bounces off into like a powerbomb through a table.
Yeah, the big slingshot powerbomb Young Bucks combo through the table.
Yeah, that was like cool coordination, like maybe slingshot the wrong way,
And then immediately afterwards, they TK driver or what Meltzer driver, whatever, right afterwards.
Shibata, his hand hurt it, and Shibata spiked on the floor.
One brutal moment where Omega, got the thumbtacks, shoved in his mouth, and then the giant swing, and the Wheeler like kicked him in the mouth. I was like, oh man, poor Omega. I don't know if he maybe got some of that spat out, but it still looked pretty brutal.
Was that Wheeler's moment? But yeah, overall, I like that. This is another Anarchy in Arena, and they came up with new ideas once again to try to expand on the creativity of it. So really fun, cool match, a lot of chaos, a lot of stuff that you could probably go back and watch it and see different things because there's so many different cameras to look at. So pretty fun, cool match overall. And that Anarchy in the Arena. Now we're moving on to, let's see, we got Okada versus Speedball. Yeah, so I felt like Speedball kind of carried this match. Yeah. Okada was just like, I'm going to do a million counter drop kicks. That was mostly his thing.
I agree that Billy, Speedball, he did most of the flash, the kicks and the speed kicks, countering with the Rainmaker with the kick.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good too.
the moonsault when he's like baseball sliding, he's like dodges it and then just the moonsault. But yeah, I was a bit disappointed with Okada. Like I thought he would do a bit more, but it was kind of funny where he's like, I'm just gonna drop kick and win the match and with one Rainmaker. Everything you do on account of the drop kick.
Yeah, he counted a whole bunch of times with his million drop kicks. But yeah, Okada hasn't been quite the same as he was in New Japan. I'm sure he's slowing it down because he's a bit older. But Speedball really, was the main man in the match. That's why we were hoping he was going to win.
Yeah, a little bit.
Now we're moving on to, let's see, we got Ricochet versus Mark Briscoe. The match that kind of came out of nowhere, sort of. The stretcher match, which probably should have been called an ambulance match. But this one was, quite violent in certain spots. And even humorous because, like, Mark Briscoe was cleaning Ricochet's head.
Oh yeah, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
So,
I thought it was funny that Ricochet does like that shooting a star into the stretcher and misses and he like drills his balls. He's like, oh my ball.
Quite, like Taz said, he's like, I think that was the yam bag region.
And then one part where Briscoe kind of got like, it was like cheese grated on the stretcher. He's like,
yeah,
it's like bleeding the hard way, man.
yeah, he got pretty messed up. He had a lot coming off there, and I think I like that Ricochet kind of, he's like, I don't have to do everything this match. He kind of toned it down and was like, I'm gonna have a match that's more like straight up and violent instead of worrying about like 630s and shooting star presses and a lot of that type of stuff. So he really backed off, but Briscoe had a lot of good moments as well. His elbow drops and stuff, and had that big one. Off the top turnbuckle that absolutely like blew up that table through Ricochet.
His footing on the top and delivers a froggy blow. Good God.
Yeah, so we kind of focused our thoughts on those 5 matches. The women's matches we kind of passed up on. What matches did we forget? Oh yeah, the tag match with the Hurt Syndicate. That one was modest. That was mostly Sammy and Shelton Benjamin, and then there's FTR versus those two guys, Nigel and Danny. So, we kind of focused our thoughts on that. So if you have a problem with that, you can let us know down in the comments. So let's see what we got this one graded, this Double or Nothing. We got good, great, awesome, amazing, spectacular, and fantastic. Where do you got it?
I'm actually between awesome and amazing. I would say to me it was awesome. Like I think it was kind of back heavy. Like the back end was like really good. The front end was kind of like iffy for me. Kind of
I was gonna go amazing because I really liked Anarchy in the Arena and the fact that like they've had so many of these big faction wars and they're still coming up with new ideas and how good Ospreay and Hangman was and the trios match in there was pretty solid. So I kind of moved it up to amazing for those last few matches. So that was our opinion on Double or Nothing. Let us know down in the comments what you think, and I hope you enjoyed those highlights and all that good stuff. And until next time, folks, some Best of the Super Juniors will be coming. We're going to be talking about that, so hopefully jump on that one because we got a lot to talk about. There's going to be a lot of highlights. That video is going to be fun and really hot because my room gets kind of hot this time of year. So until next time, folks, have some heavy wrestling.